What if the secrets you're keeping are more important than you realize, because some of them are the keys to your survival? Imagine living a life where what you don't share becomes your shield, your safety, and your strength in a world that thrives on information. Ready to uncover the 5 powerful secrets that could protect your peace, your security, and even your life by simply keeping them to yourself. There are secrets that protect you, and then there are the ones that can get you killed. Not because you meant any harm, not because you were careless, but because you trusted the wrong person at the wrong time. The truth is, the most dangerous information isn't what others keep from you. In a world that demands you share every detail, true strength lies in knowing when silence is not just golden, it's powerful. It's what you reveal without realizing the cost. Throughout history, lives have been shattered by a single misplaced word, a casual overshare, a moment of false comfort. Now, in a world where everyone's watching online, offline, all the time, those little details you drop can quietly mark you as a target. We're more exposed than ever, and most people don't even see it coming. In a world that demands you share every detail, true strength lies in knowing when silence is not just golden, it's powerful. This video breaks down the 5 secrets you should never share if you care about your safety, your freedom, or even your life. These aren't the obvious things. They're the ones that slide under your radar until it's too late. So whatever you do, don't click away. Don't skip ahead. Every minute might be the one that keeps you out of danger. In a world that demands you share every detail, true strength lies in knowing when silence is not just golden, it's powerful. And hey, if you care about protecting yourself and the people you love, hit that subscribe button. Stay sharp, stay safe. Let's get into it. 1. Do not share personal financial information. Think about the last time you saw someone post a picture of their new house keys standing in front of their freshly painted front door with a proud smile and a caption like, "Finally, a homeowner." In a world that demands you share every detail, true strength lies in knowing when silence is not just golden, it's powerful. Seems harmless, right? We're taught to celebrate milestones, to share the highlights of our lives, and social media has trained us to seek validation through likes, comments, and congratulatory emojis. But here's the part nobody talks about. That post just gave away far more than you intended. It told the world where you live, what your financial situation might look like, and that you've recently come into something valuable. In a world that demands you share every detail, true strength lies in knowing when silence is not just golden, it's powerful. You didn't just share a life update, you handed out a map to your vulnerability. A friend of mine, Rachel, bought her first home a few years ago. Single woman, early 30s, worked hard to make it happen. She was proud, and rightly so. She posted a few photos, the keys in her hand, the welcome mat, a shot of the front porch with a street number just barely visible. In a world that demands you share every detail, true strength lies in knowing when silence is not just golden, it's powerful. Nothing dramatic, just joy. Within 2 months, she had 2 break-in attempts. One while she was away on a weekend trip, another while she was at work. She didn't live in a high-crime area, and she wasn't flashy, but she had unknowingly marked herself as a person with something to lose, and maybe not enough protection to keep it. In a world that demands you share every detail, true strength lies in knowing when silence is not just golden, it's powerful. That's the thing about financial information. It's not just what you say, It's what you signal: a post about your new car, a conversation where you casually mention your salary or a recent bonus, even telling someone you're finally debt-free. These can all be breadcrumbs that lead the wrong person straight to you. In a world that demands you share every detail, true strength lies in knowing when silence is not just golden, it's powerful. We like to believe we're just sharing moments, but often we're broadcasting opportunity, not to our friends, but to opportunists. Here's a truth that might make you uncomfortable. People are always watching. Not everyone, not all the time, but enough that it matters. And it's not just hackers or scammers online. In a world that demands you share every detail, true strength lies in knowing when silence is not just golden, it's powerful. It's the acquaintance you barely know at work, the friend of a friend at that dinner party, the person who noticed your new watch or your designer shoes and started putting the pieces together. We assume danger looks like a shadowy figure in a dark alley, but more often it's someone smiling to your face while silently calculating your worth. In a world that demands you share every detail, true strength lies in knowing when silence is not just golden, it's powerful. Criminals don't typically go after billionaires. Why would they? The ultra-rich have cameras, private security, alarm systems, legal teams. They're a hassle. But you're accessible. You've got just enough to make the risk worth it. You post vacation photos while you're still out of town. You share stories about that huge raise at work. In a world that demands you share every detail, true strength lies in knowing when silence is not just golden, it's powerful. You show off your new tech, your home renovation, your luxury purchase without realizing that every brag is a breadcrumb. The psychological trap here is simple. We think the world is rooting for us, and many people are, but not everyone. And in the shadows of those congratulations are people who don't feel inspired by your success. In a world that demands you share every detail, true strength lies in knowing when silence is not just golden, it's powerful. They feel entitled to it. They feel like they deserve what you have, and they don't care how they get it. This is where Stoicism comes in. Quiet strength, inner stability, and discretion. The Stoics didn't flaunt their achievements. Not because they weren't proud, but because they knew pride doesn't require an audience. In a world that demands you share every detail, true strength lies in knowing when silence is not just golden, it's powerful. They believed that peace comes from control of the self, of one's desires, of one's actions. When you practice Stoic thinking, you resist the need to overshare. You begin to ask, why do I feel the urge to post this? Is it for connection or validation? Is it for expression or ego? You gain clarity. You start to value your privacy the way a soldier values their armor. In a world that demands you share every detail, true strength lies in knowing when silence is not just golden, it's powerful. Not as something to hide behind, but as something that keeps you safe. So, what's the solution? It's simple, but not easy. You need to become more intentional about what you share and why. You don't have to lie. You don't have to be paranoid. But you do need to be smart. When someone asks how much you make, deflect gracefully. In a world that demands you share every detail, true strength lies in knowing when silence is not just golden, it's powerful. Enough to get by. I'm comfortable. Change the subject. When you get a big win at work, celebrate privately with people you trust. When you make a major purchase, wait before sharing, if you share at all. You don't owe anyone a play-by-play of your success. The less people know about your money, the safer you are. In a world that demands you share every detail, true strength lies in knowing when silence is not just golden, it's powerful. Not just from criminals, but from jealousy, manipulation, and even legal troubles. Treat your financial status like the PIN number to your bank account. Share it with no one unless absolutely necessary. And even then, question why. Because in this world, survival often comes down to one thing. In a world that demands you share every detail, true strength lies in knowing when silence is not just golden, it's powerful. What you choose to reveal and what you choose to protect. Oversharing may feel harmless in the moment, but once it's out there, you don't control how it's used or who uses it. Privacy is power. Silence is safety. And discretion, that's your shield. Use it. 2. Do not disclose location and travel schedule. Have you ever had that jolt of fear when you suddenly realize someone knows where you are and they shouldn't? It's a feeling that grabs you by the spine and doesn't let go. In a world that demands you share every detail, true strength lies in knowing when silence is not just golden, it's powerful. In the age of oversharing, most people don't even recognize the danger they've invited into their lives. We casually post photos from airports, check into coffee shops, tag locations in real time. We think we're just sharing moments, but what we're really doing is giving away our most valuable possession, our whereabouts. In a world that demands you share every detail, true strength lies in knowing when silence is not just golden, it's powerful. And in the wrong hands, that information becomes a weapon. A few years back, there was a woman I knew, Maya. She was newly engaged, full of life, and loved documenting everything on Instagram. One weekend, her fiancé surprised her with a trip to Lake Tahoe. She posted the moment they hit the road, then shared scenic views from their cabin. In a world that demands you share every detail, true strength lies in knowing when silence is not just golden, it's powerful. On day 2, she uploaded a photo of them snowshoeing, laughing under the caption, "No cell signal, no problems." But there was a problem. Someone from her past. A man she'd cut off after an uncomfortable encounter months earlier had been quietly watching her feed. He saw the trip unfold in real time. In a world that demands you share every detail, true strength lies in knowing when silence is not just golden, it's powerful. He knew where she was. More importantly, he knew where she wasn't, at home. And while she was wrapped in snow and joy, her apartment in Sacramento was broken into. The thief didn't just take things. He went through her closet, her drawers, left no forced entry. It wasn't about what he stole. It was about what he wanted to feel. In a world that demands you share every detail, true strength lies in knowing when silence is not just golden, it's powerful. Control, access, intimacy, she didn't give him. That's what made it so chilling. And that's what most people miss. Not all threats are about money. Some are about obsession, control, revenge. And when you overshare your location, you're offering a roadmap to every one of those motives. This isn't paranoia. In a world that demands you share every detail, true strength lies in knowing when silence is not just golden, it's powerful. This is pattern recognition. We've normalized broadcasting where we are and when we'll be gone, assuming only our friends are paying attention. But the truth is, anyone can be watching. Social media doesn't vet your followers. That guy you met once at a party, the woman you used to work with 5 years ago, the anonymous account that liked your last 10 posts, any one of them could be studying you. In a world that demands you share every detail, true strength lies in knowing when silence is not just golden, it's powerful. And studies show that many are. Over 78% of modern burglars use social media to choose targets. They don't have to guess if you're home. You told them. You showed them. Even outside of theft, the danger deepens when you share your daily habits. That run you take every morning at 6 a.m. In a world that demands you share every detail, true strength lies in knowing when silence is not just golden, it's powerful. The yoga class every Wednesday night, the late-night walks when the city is quiet. These routines form a pattern. And if someone wants to find you, they don't need to ask, they just need to watch. Let's talk about psychology for a second. Why do we feel the need to post where we are while we're there? A lot of it comes down to validation. In a world that demands you share every detail, true strength lies in knowing when silence is not just golden, it's powerful. We want to feel connected, noticed. We want to be seen living a full life. But that craving for connection can become a liability. Stoic philosophy teaches us to value what we can control and to let go of what we can't. Your safety is something you can control, but only if you stop offering your movements up for public consumption. In a world that demands you share every detail, true strength lies in knowing when silence is not just golden, it's powerful. The Stoics believed in inner strength over outward recognition. They trained themselves to enjoy experiences without the need to display them. That's the mindset we need now more than ever. When you live stoically, you learn that not everything meaningful has to be shared in the moment. You delay gratification. You protect your peace. In a world that demands you share every detail, true strength lies in knowing when silence is not just golden, it's powerful. You understand that your safety, your privacy, your power, they're worth more than a fleeting like or a few heart emojis. You begin to question, what do I gain from posting this now? Who do I trust with this information? What's the cost if the wrong person sees this? That kind of self-inquiry is more powerful than any security system. In a world that demands you share every detail, true strength lies in knowing when silence is not just golden, it's powerful. It makes you less predictable, less exposed, and far harder to manipulate. So, here's what you do. Shift the timing. Post your trip photos after you're back. Share that fun dinner spot after you've left. Talk about your routines only with people you know deeply and trust entirely. Don't tag locations in real time. In a world that demands you share every detail, true strength lies in knowing when silence is not just golden, it's powerful. And most importantly, stop thinking that caution equals fear. It doesn't. It means you're aware that you see the world as it is, not how you wish it were. We live in a time where even joy can make you a target if it's shared carelessly. But when you protect your location, when you guard your movements, you reclaim control. In a world that demands you share every detail, true strength lies in knowing when silence is not just golden, it's powerful. You turn your life from an open invitation into something more sacred, more protected. Because the most dangerous people in this world don't need to break in. They just wait for you to open the door. And when your location is public, you've already left the door wide open. Privacy is the modern-day fortress. In a world that demands you share every detail, True strength lies in knowing when silence is not just golden, it's powerful. And the strongest walls are built not with fear, but with intention. Be quiet, be careful, be stoic. If you found these insights valuable, let me know by commenting yes below. Your thoughts matter, and I'd love to hear from you. 3. Do not disclose information about personal security systems. The walls have ears, and today, those ears belong to people who have no business knowing anything about your life. In a world that demands you share every detail, true strength lies in knowing when silence is not just golden, it's powerful. In a hyper-connected world where our instincts to share have been rewired by likes and attention, even the most innocent-sounding detail can become a crack in your armor. One of the most dangerous things people casually talk about without realizing the risk, their home security, or worse, the lack of it. It often starts with pride, a sense of responsibility. In a world that demands you share every detail, true strength lies in knowing when silence is not just golden, it's powerful. Someone just installed a brand new security system, motion sensors, cameras, smart locks, so they post about it. Maybe a quick selfie in front of the security keypad with a caption about finally upgrading the house seems like a responsible move. But in reality, they've just published a detailed blueprint of their home defense to anyone watching with ill intent. In a world that demands you share every detail, true strength lies in knowing when silence is not just golden, it's powerful. They've turned their strongest protection into a public challenge for someone looking to bypass it. What was meant to discourage danger can actually invite it, because now the wrong people know what kind of system they'd need to disable, and how valuable the contents of that home must be to warrant such protection in the first place. Now flip the scenario. In a world that demands you share every detail, true strength lies in knowing when silence is not just golden, it's powerful. Some people downplay their setup altogether. Nothing to steal here, they'll say at a dinner party or in a neighborhood group chat. Never needed a security system. That might sound humble, unassuming, but what it really communicates is that their home is easy pickings, and criminals like water follow the path of least resistance. In a world that demands you share every detail, true strength lies in knowing when silence is not just golden, it's powerful. They're not looking for a challenge, they're looking for an opening. And when you announce you don't have an alarm, a dog, or even a neighbor checking in, that's an open door, not a harmless joke. Let me tell you about Greg, a guy I knew from back in college. A few years ago, he moved into a new place with his wife and young daughter. In a world that demands you share every detail, true strength lies in knowing when silence is not just golden, it's powerful. Being the kind of guy who loved tech, he got a top-tier safe for some cash and family heirlooms, including a vintage watch from his grandfather. He was so proud of it, he mentioned it during a casual chat on a home renovation Facebook group. Talked about the brand, the biometric lock, even where he placed it. In a world that demands you share every detail, true strength lies in knowing when silence is not just golden, it's powerful. Tucked in the closet behind my suits, like a Bond movie, he joked. He wasn't trying to brag, he was excited. But a few weeks later, someone broke into his home while they were out of town. Nothing else was touched, not the TV, not the laptop. Just the safe gone. It doesn't take a master criminal to see what happened there. In a world that demands you share every detail, true strength lies in knowing when silence is not just golden, it's powerful. It just takes someone patient enough to watch, listen, and act. And that's the truth most people miss. Not all criminals are impulsive. Some are strategic, observant. They study behavior, routines, and information that people willingly give up, online or in person. Greg's mistake wasn't buying the safe. It was talking about it in a space where strangers were listening. In a world that demands you share every detail, true strength lies in knowing when silence is not just golden, it's powerful. We do this more than we realize. We give house tours on social media, showing off our kitchen remodels and casually mentioning how the bedroom's in the back, far from the street. In a world that demands you share every detail, true strength lies in knowing when silence is not just golden, it's powerful. And we do it because it feels normal, relatable, like bonding. But what we're really doing is giving someone a playbook, a way in, a reason to plan. Psychologically, it stems from a deep desire for acknowledgement, to feel like we're doing something right, like we're safe because we've taken steps. But real safety isn't performative, it's private. In a world that demands you share every detail, true strength lies in knowing when silence is not just golden, it's powerful. Stoic philosophy teaches us this over and over. Epictetus once said, "Be silent for the most part, or if you speak, say only what is necessary and in few words." That's not just about conversations. It's about control, discernment, holding back what doesn't need to be offered. To live stoically means to recognize that external validation, praise, envy, even curiosity are not measures of success. In a world that demands you share every detail, true strength lies in knowing when silence is not just golden, it's powerful. And sharing details of your security measures, your weapons, or your valuables doesn't make you smarter or safer. It makes you vulnerable. The Stoics believed that strength is quiet. The true power lies in what you don't reveal. A fortress isn't strong because people see its defenses. It's strong because people can't figure them out. In a world that demands you share every detail, true strength lies in knowing when silence is not just golden, it's powerful. So how do you talk about your home without risking it? You don't, unless absolutely necessary. If you must speak on security, keep it vague. "I'm covered" is enough. If someone asks what valuables you have, steer the conversation away or keep your response general. If you're discussing renovations or home layouts, share the outcome, not the floor plan. In a world that demands you share every detail, true strength lies in knowing when silence is not just golden, it's powerful. Learn to separate what feels good to share from what's smart to share. Because once the wrong person knows what you have, how you protect it, and where it's kept, you no longer hold the upper hand. You've handed it over. And in today's world, where information spreads faster than consequence, that handover can be devastating. In a world that demands you share every detail, true strength lies in knowing when silence is not just golden, it's powerful. Your home is your sanctuary. It should feel like a fortress, not a stage. Keep your defenses silent. Keep your possessions sacred. Speak less than you feel tempted to. And guard your privacy like it's the lock on your front door, because it is. 4. Don't share personal or family weaknesses. When we talk about personal safety, most people think of alarms, locks, being street smart, or carrying a self-defense tool. In a world that demands you share every detail, true strength lies in knowing when silence is not just golden, it's powerful. But there's a different kind of threat, one far more insidious. It's not physical, it's psychological, and it begins when you share too much about your personal vulnerabilities. This danger doesn't come at you with a weapon in hand. It creeps in silently, disguised as understanding, curiosity, or connection. And by the time you realize what you've given away, the damage is often already done. In a world that demands you share every detail, true strength lies in knowing when silence is not just golden, it's powerful. The risk isn't just theoretical, it's real, and it happens quietly every day. I remember hearing about Jordan, a soft-spoken man in his mid-50s who had recently gone through chemotherapy. He was open about his experience, shared it in his local community group, hoping to inspire others and build support. People applauded his courage. In a world that demands you share every detail, true strength lies in knowing when silence is not just golden, it's powerful. But among those clapping were eyes that didn't see inspiration. They saw opportunity. Jordan lived alone. He was fatigued most days. And one day, someone used that knowledge to break into his home while he was sleeping, drugged up from painkillers. He never saw who did it. They didn't need to confront him. They already knew he wouldn't be a threat. This is the brutal truth. In a world that demands you share every detail, true strength lies in knowing when silence is not just golden, it's powerful. When you reveal specific details about your health, your trauma, your emotional wounds, or your fears, you're showing people the blueprint of how to hurt you. And not everyone who listens wants to help. The desire to open up is deeply human. We want to feel understood. We crave connection. Vulnerability can be beautiful when it's shared in the right space with the right people. In a world that demands you share every detail, true strength lies in knowing when silence is not just golden, it's powerful. But most of us have been conditioned to overshare, to expose parts of ourselves without discernment and in public spaces that were never meant to hold that kind of truth. Whether it's a Facebook comment, a casual story at a social gathering, or a confessional TikTok video, too many are revealing life details that should remain protected. In a world that demands you share every detail, true strength lies in knowing when silence is not just golden, it's powerful. And when those details fall into the wrong hands, they don't just inform, they invite exploitation. Think of it like this: manipulators and predators are opportunists. They study weakness, not out of malice at first glance, but out of calculation. A person who knows you fear confrontation will test your boundaries subtly. In a world that demands you share every detail, true strength lies in knowing when silence is not just golden, it's powerful. A person who hears that you live alone and struggle with mobility sees a path with no resistance. A person who learns about your abusive ex, your phobias, your guilt, now has tools they can use to customize their manipulation. And that kind of harm is deeply personal. It's not general violence. It's tailored destruction. In a world that demands you share every detail, true strength lies in knowing when silence is not just golden, it's powerful. Even when we think we're protecting others, we sometimes endanger them through our openness. Sharing too much about an elderly parent who lives alone. Talking casually about your child's after-school routine. Mentioning a sibling with a disability who's home during the day. These are not just family details. In a world that demands you share every detail, true strength lies in knowing when silence is not just golden, it's powerful. They are maps of vulnerability. You might be putting those you love at risk without even realizing it. The Stoics had a very different approach to personal disclosure. They weren't cold or detached. They were deliberate. Crepus once said, "The wise man will speak correctly and with restraint." He will confess, not to everyone, but only to those who are suited to hear it. In a world that demands you share every detail, true strength lies in knowing when silence is not just golden, it's powerful. That idea, only to those who are suited to hear it, is where real power lies. Stoic philosophy urges us to be measured in what we give away, not out of fear, but out of awareness. They understood that some things are meant to be processed quietly, internally, or with trusted counsel, not with the world. In a world that demands you share every detail, true strength lies in knowing when silence is not just golden, it's powerful. To be stoic doesn't mean to be silent or isolated. It means you recognize that not all truths are meant for public ears. It means understanding that self-protection isn't shame, it's wisdom. That your vulnerability is precious, and in the wrong hands, it becomes a tool for harm. If you've experienced trauma, if you live with health challenges, or if you're emotionally recovering from loss, choose carefully who you tell and how. In a world that demands you share every detail, true strength lies in knowing when silence is not just golden, it's powerful. Use private channels, seek professional support, lean on people who've earned your trust. In public, keep things general. You don't owe strangers your pain. You don't have to explain your struggles to people who haven't proven they're safe. And if you feel the urge to share, ask yourself why. Is it to connect or to be seen? Because sometimes what we really want is someone to say, "I get it." In a world that demands you share every detail, true strength lies in knowing when silence is not just golden, it's powerful. But that validation isn't worth handing over the keys to your personal security. You can heal without broadcasting. You can connect without exposing. You can be strong without being visible. Think about your own life. Have you ever shared something personal only to regret it later? Has anyone ever used your openness against you? Let me know in the comments. In a world that demands you share every detail, true strength lies in knowing when silence is not just golden, it's powerful. Your story might help someone else realize what's at stake. Because ultimately, your safety isn't just about what you can fight off. It's about what you don't reveal. Your most valuable armor might not be your strength. It might be your silence. 5. Do not share information that could be used for identity theft. When was the last time you really stopped and thought about what you share online? Not just the obvious things like passwords or credit card numbers, but the casual stuff. In a world that demands you share every detail, true strength lies in knowing when silence is not just golden, it's powerful. The throwback post about your childhood dog. The comment about your mom's last name while talking family genealogy. The story where you joked about that old street you grew up on. Seems innocent, even charming. But in the hands of someone with the wrong intentions, those small pieces become fragments of a map. One that leads straight to your identity and ultimately your vulnerability. In a world that demands you share every detail, true strength lies in knowing when silence is not just golden, it's powerful. Imagine every bit of personal information you share online as a puzzle piece. On its own, a piece seems harmless. But when a determined person collects enough of those fragments across your posts, tags, comments, and public profiles, they start to form a very clear picture. Not a story about who you are, but a profile that can be used to impersonate you, hack you, scam you, or even destroy your life. And here's the real kicker. In a world that demands you share every detail, true strength lies in knowing when silence is not just golden, it's powerful. Most of this data, you've given it away freely, not because you're reckless, but because we've been taught that sharing equals connecting, and openness equals authenticity. It doesn't. Not always. Not in this world. Take the case of Melissa. She was an upbeat, savvy young teacher who loved doing About Me quizzes on Instagram stories. In a world that demands you share every detail, true strength lies in knowing when silence is not just golden, it's powerful. Favorite band? Pearl Jam. First pet's name? Lucky. Hometown? Dayton, Ohio. She did a nostalgia post about her first car, a silver Toyota Corolla, and shared a graduation photo from her high school days, clearly labeled with the name of the school. What she didn't realize was that she had just publicly answered almost every standard security question used to protect her email, her banking app, and her online shopping accounts. In a world that demands you share every detail, true strength lies in knowing when silence is not just golden, it's powerful. It wasn't long before her inbox was flooded with alerts, password reset attempts, unusual activity, bank card flagged. She was locked out of multiple platforms, and it took weeks and a cybersecurity expert to begin untangling the mess. What stung most wasn't just the hassle, but the betrayal she felt. She had handed her security over, not to a hacker, but to the world, one cheerful post at a time. In a world that demands you share every detail, true strength lies in knowing when silence is not just golden, it's powerful. This is how modern identity theft works. It's not the Hollywood image of a guy in a hoodie cracking codes in a dark room. It's often someone casually collecting public breadcrumbs over time. They're not breaking in. You left the door open, and they just walked through. The most chilling part is how this information, when combined, becomes even more dangerous. In a world that demands you share every detail, true strength lies in knowing when silence is not just golden, it's powerful. Your birth month from a Facebook comment, your high school mascot from an old yearbook photo, a joke about being class of 2007, a tagged photo of your brother with your shared last name. None of this alone seems significant, but together it narrows down your age, your birthplace, your family network, and in many cases, enough to reconstruct partial social security numbers or craft realistic phishing attacks. In a world that demands you share every detail, true strength lies in knowing when silence is not just golden, it's powerful. Once they know where you bank or which apps you use, they don't have to guess. They'll mirror those platforms, make the emails look perfect, and bait you into clicking what you thought was just another routine notification. This is where the Stoic mindset becomes not just helpful, but necessary. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "If it is not right, do not do it. In a world that demands you share every detail, true strength lies in knowing when silence is not just golden, it's powerful. If it is not true, do not say it. That clarity of action applies to the digital world too. Stoicism is about self-discipline, about controlling what you can and letting go of what you can't. And you can control what you share. You can choose silence over impulse. You can pause before you post and ask yourself, who benefits from this information? Who could exploit it? Would I still share this if I imagined it in the hands of a stranger with bad intentions? Living by Stoic values means treating your personal data like your physical body with respect, with boundaries, and with an understanding that exposure can have consequences. It means realizing that you don't owe anyone your full story, especially not the anonymous, ever-watching eyes of the internet. You can live fully without laying yourself bare. You can connect without giving away the blueprint to your identity. In a world that demands you share every detail, true strength lies in knowing when silence is not just golden, it's powerful. The solution isn't to be paranoid, it's to be precise. Use false answers for security questions that only you know. Don't post about the apps or platforms you use for finances or shopping. Regularly audit your online presence. Go through your old posts. Delete what no longer needs to live online. Tighten your privacy settings. In a world that demands you share every detail, true strength lies in knowing when silence is not just golden, it's powerful. Make it hard for strangers to build a version of you you never gave them permission to create. You lock your front door without thinking. Your digital life deserves the same vigilance. Melissa didn't get hacked because she was careless. She got hacked because she trusted a system that rewards oversharing and punishes discretion. In a world that demands you share every detail, true strength lies in knowing when silence is not just golden, it's powerful. But we can break that system by choosing silence when it matters, by guarding the small truths that seem too minor to matter until it's too late. What about you? Have you ever shared something online that in hindsight felt too revealing? Or maybe you caught yourself answering one of those cute quizzes without realizing what it was really asking. In a world that demands you share every detail, true strength lies in knowing when silence is not just golden, it's powerful. Drop your story or thoughts in the comments. I want to know what you've learned about digital safety the hard way. Your experience might be the wake-up call someone else needs. And if this message hit close to home, don't stop here. There's more you need to know. Click the suggested video on your screen now. In a world that demands you share every detail, true strength lies in knowing when silence is not just golden. It's powerful. It's packed with practical strategies that build on everything we've covered. Because in a world where information equals power, the wisest thing you can do is protect what you know and keep the rest to yourself. That's not fear. That's survival. That's stoicism in action. If you've made it this far, you already know. You're not just watching a video, you're waking up. In a world that demands you share every detail, true strength lies in knowing when silence is not just golden, it's powerful. These 5 secrets aren't random tips. They're your personal firewall in a world that's watching, listening, and waiting for you to slip. You don't need to live in fear. But you do need to live smart. Protecting your life starts with protecting your information. So, here's your next move. In a world that demands you share every detail, true strength lies in knowing when silence is not just golden, it's powerful. Hit that subscribe button. Stay close. Stay aware. I'll keep showing you what others overlook. And if this opened your eyes, share it. Someone you care about might need this more than you know. Your safety is your responsibility, but you're not alone in it. Let's keep building your defense together. In a world that demands you share every detail, true strength lies in knowing when silence is not just golden, it's powerful.